About 10 years ago, a priest traveled to a Malaysian island with his wife and daughter to spread the message of God. The locals initially welcomed them, attending the new church daily. However, tensions rose when followers of the island's traditional gods became upset over the priest's influence. Soon after, strange symbols and masks began appearing, and the church was eventually destroyed by fire. In the present, American teenager Toby ignores his father David's suggestion to work on the car together, preferring to spend time on his phone instead. David decides to work alone, but as he steps outside, he is attacked by a group of masked criminals who stab him before stealing the car. Toby is unaware of the attack, as the television distracts him, and only hears the car speeding away. By the time he notices the situation and runs outside, it's too late. The news reports his father's murder, and Toby is left with overwhelming guilt. His mother takes him to see a psychologist, who recommends a special program for people dealing with trauma. The program involves taking participants to a remote, uninhabited island for deep introspection. Toby reluctantly agrees, hoping it will help him process the events and find some peace. A few weeks later, Toby is on a boat heading to the island, feeling sick from the waves. This makes him an easy target for a prank, as he's knocked into the water by the sail. After a long day of sailing, the group's leader, Kay, explains the plan. Each participant will be dropped off on a different island for 3 days and nights. They'll be provided with a sleeping bag, tarp, torchlight, food, and a flare in case of emergencies. The next morning, Kay drops Toby off, reminding him to be on the shore at dawn in 3 days. Watching the boat leave brings back memories of the night the police took his father's body, but Toby pushes the thoughts aside and begins. He sets up a poorly made tent using the tarp and talks to himself to fight the loneliness. Then, he heads into the jungle to gather wood. He spots some coconuts on the ground and tries to collect them, but when he moves the vegetation, he's horrified to find a dead monkey, triggering the memory of finding his father's body. Deciding to return to his tent, he's upset to discover that another monkey has eaten half his food. Toby tries to start a fire but fails, injuring his hand in the process. He then walks into the water to catch fish but accidentally steps on shells, hurting his foot. However, he does manage to find some clams. His bleeding foot attracts the mysterious mask at the bottom of the sea. Later, Toby uses his Swiss knife to open the clams and discovers it has a magnifying glass, which helps him finally start a fire. That night, Toby eats the clams, but they make him feel sick. After throwing up, he ventures into the jungle with his torchlight to find coconuts for water. When he finally spots them, he hears someone running behind him. Frantically shaking the torchlight, Toby sees a creepy face behind a tree, which quickly disappears. Terrified, Toby runs back to his camp, lighting a flare before passing out. His memories of his father's death flood back. During the night, the high tide takes most of his belongings. The next morning, Toby wakes up unexpectedly against a tree and finds cut coconuts waiting for him. After drinking, he's shocked to see a girl in the water. When she tries to leave, he follows her. The girl suddenly turns with a knife, but it's not to attack Toby. She's hunting an animal trapped in one of her many snares. She introduces herself as Madeline and warns Toby they can't stay because it's dangerous. As they move on, Toby sees how deadly the traps are but gets no answers from Madeline, who stays silent except for sharing her name. They arrive at a dam built by missionaries, where Madeline starts a fire to cook her catch and shares it with Toby. Afterward, she tells him she's leaving and that he can't come. Toby tries to follow, but Madeline pulls out her knife again, this time to kill a snake that almost harms him. Before leaving, she advises him to stay near the fire to keep animals away. Toby follows her advice, falling asleep in a makeshift shelter. That night, Toby dreams one of his father's killers finds and attacks him, but he wakes up to realize it was just a nightmare. He notices the fire has gone out and tries to relight it, feeling uneasy from the strange noises around him. Thinking it might be Madeline, Toby enters the jungle and finds some thread attached to odd decorations on a tree. When he pulls it, a creepy figure appears behind him but vanishes as soon as he turns around. The next morning, Toby wakes up to find Madeline cooking breakfast. She notices his foot wound and takes him to find a special plant to treat it. She explains she's been on the island since childhood and is now only with her mother after her father died. When they find the plant, Madeline applies it to Toby's wound and warns him not to eat it, or he'll fall asleep. Toby realizes his lips are numb after she tests it on him. Madeline and Toby spend the day together on the island, where she teaches him how to survive, from fishing to building a shelter. In exchange, Toby shares tales of the modern world, like high fives and the internet. As the sun sets, Madeline must leave again. Toby notices her heading toward the tree adorned with strange decorations. Before parting, Madeline leaves him a spear for protection and warns him that if he follows her, her mother will harm him. She promises they'll meet again in the morning, but Toby reveals that they'll come for him at dawn. This stings Madeline, making her feel abandoned. She runs to her treehouse home, leaving Toby behind, who stays in an attempt to speak with her. At dawn, Kay arrives at the beach, only to find the boy is missing. She hears Toby calling Madeline's name and heads into the jungle with her torchlight, hoping to find him. But the jungle is eerie, filled with strange noises, and as she stumbles, her torch falls from her hands. Suddenly, Kay is blinded by the light. She moves closer, thinking it's Toby, but the light flickers out, leaving her in darkness. As she reaches down to grab the torch, she feels something cold touch her hand a paw. She freezes, and the only sound in the dark is Kay's terrified scream. The next morning, Toby wakes up, realizing he fell asleep while calling out for Madeline. He rushes to the beach, but it's deserted. He waits for a while, and after a few hours, notices a life buoy floating nearby. As he swims out, he follows a trail of objects leading him to Kay's boat, floating upside down. To his shock, Madeline's mother emerges from the boat with Kay's supplies. Once she disappears, Toby investigates and discovers 2 flares in a cabinet. But what frightens him most is finding Kay's body behind a door. Panicked, Toby swims away but gets caught on another door. He struggles, manages to free himself, and surfaces just in time to breathe. Later, Toby enters the jungle and finds Kay's torch with a strange scratch mark on it. Using the torchlight, he ventures into Madeline's tree entrance and discovers a rocky tunnel filled with bats and eerie sounds. Suddenly, the creepy creature reappears, making Toby drop the torchlight and leaving him in darkness. The noises grow louder, and Toby frantically searches the ground. He finally retrieves the torch, turning it on just in time to see chilling drawings on the walls. Moments later, Toby reaches the end of the tunnel and emerges to find the remains of the burned church. He hears a goat bleating and discovers Madeline's mother slaughtering it for food. Continuing his search, he finds the cabin where both women live. Inside, he comes across Kay's empty bag, a box containing 3 passports, and an old photo revealing that Madeline and her mother are the family that arrived with the priest years ago. He also finds a can of gasoline and, crucially, Kay's radio. Toby immediately uses it to call for help, but the line cuts off after a brief hello. As he hides under the bed, Madeline and her mother return. The mother prepares a concoction using a dumbing plant and argues with Madeline, who isn't ready to leave. Toby, trying to stay out of sight, is horrified to discover a creepy mask under the bed, recognizing it as the face of the creature that attacked him earlier. After the mother leaves the room, Toby tries to approach Madeline. However, she warns him of the danger and promises to meet him at the beach later. Toby returns to the beach, using his newfound survival skills to catch fish and start a fire. As he eats, he spots a blinking light at the other end of the island. In response, he builds a larger fire, hoping to signal from afar. That night, as Toby tries to sleep, he's startled by Madeline, who expected him to be gone by now. Toby reveals that Kay is dead and suspects her mother killed her. Madeline rests her head on Toby's leg, sharing fragmented memories of her childhood. She recalls happier days spent with her family and playing with local kids. But one day, everything changed. She remembers being alone, crying in a corner, while her blood-soaked mother told her not to look. Madeline confesses she has terrifying visions at night and believes her mother is responsible for the deaths. Toby suggests they run away together before a new boat arrives, and Madeline agrees but plans to return tomorrow to avoid arousing her mother's suspicion. The next morning, Toby wakes up to the sound of a plane flying by. He runs after it, but it's already gone. However, in his pursuit, he discovers an abandoned lighthouse and decides to investigate. Inside, the light isn't working. As Toby examines it, he recalls the lessons David taught him about car maintenance. With this knowledge, he realizes the light needs gasoline to function. On his way back to the beach, Toby unexpectedly bumps into Cameron, another guy who signed up for the service. Like Toby, he was never picked up, but he managed to find a rowboat and used it to search for other survivors, as his own island is deserted. Toby shares some food and tells Cameron about his experience while crafting a new spear. When Cameron criticizes Toby for trusting two dangerous murderers, Toby becomes defensive and points the spear at him. After an apology, Toby explains his refusal to leave Madeline behind, convinced she's also a victim, and sets off to find her. Moments later, Toby reaches the house but is caught by surprise by the mother. She takes the spear from him and tries to make him see reason, but Toby runs. She chases him and accidentally falls into one of Madeline's traps, getting stuck between a tree and a spear. With little time left, the mother explains that she didn't kill anyone. Her only goal was to scare people off, as the real murderer is Madeline. Years ago, the locals warned them about something evil on the island, but the priest dismissed it, relying on the word of God while arguing with the natives. Madeline took advantage of this, wandering to an altar where the locals performed animal sacrifices. This ritual allowed a demon to use her as a vessel. Madeline killed everyone in the church and burned it down, leaving only her mother alive. Before dying, the mother gives Toby a special plant in a bag to subdue Madeline and warns that Madeline hates light when she's demonic. She begs Toby not to let Madeline leave the island. While waiting at the camp, Cameron hears strange noises and ventures into the jungle. He finds a pile of bones, which distracts him from noticing the real danger. A demonic Madeline appears and drags him through the trees to his death. By the time Toby returns, all that's left is Cameron's blood. He hears a noise and turns to see Madeline approaching, carrying her mother's body. However, she turns human again when she recognizes Toby as a friend. She demands to know what happened to her mother, and to calm her, Toby lies, saying he killed her so they could be together. Madeline is pleased and kisses Toby, pushing him to the ground. During the struggle, Toby loses the small bag with the special plant. He pretends to go along with it to retrieve it. As Madeline begins to change back, Toby finds her spear and knocks her out. He quickly puts the plants in her mouth to subdue her, ties her up with vines, and runs to the house for gasoline. He prepares a torch for the journey back to the lighthouse. Toby leaves the torch at the door to keep animals away, then heads upstairs to turn on the light, recalling how his dad taught him to start a car. As Madeline starts to stir, Toby waits for a boat. When no one arrives, he decides to leave. On his way down the stairs, he trips, spilling gasoline all over the floor and discovering that the special plant grows here too. At that moment, the door slams shut, and when the rotating light shifts in the opposite direction, demonic Madeline sneaks into the shadows to attack. Toby grabs some of the plant before being dragged away, but Madeline is too strong. When he tries to use the plant on her, she twists his hands, causing the juice to spill in his eyes. She leaps away when the light shines on her again. Taking advantage of this, Toby washes his face in the sink. While floating in the water, he spots a glass shard. As Madeline waits for another chance to attack, Toby uses the shard to defend himself. Toby considers using the torch but hesitates when he sees little Madeline crying by the door. Worried for her, he approaches, only to discover it's a trap. Madeline reveals her demonic face before transforming into her adult form and lunging at him. A boat is heard approaching the island, so Toby has to act fast. Madeline is in the process of possessing him. Desperate, Toby grabs the shard again. When Madeline seizes his wrist to stop him, He quickly reflects the light from the shard onto her face, burning her and forcing her to back away. Toby runs outside, grabs the torch, and throws it onto a gasoline trail, starting a fire. Madeline, now human again, tries to appeal for pity, but Toby slams the door in her face and runs away. On the beach, Toby spots the boat heading toward the lighthouse. He wades into the water, hoping to be heard, but the noise allows demonic Madeline to sneak up on him. She kills him moments later. The boat's rescuer, unaware of the danger, takes Madeline aboard, believing her to be the one who turned on the lighthouse. As the man turns away, Madeline reveals she's still possessed and ready to wreak havoc on the city soon. Subscribe and enable notifications for more videos. Thanks for watching.